Yo, what's going on, guys? Alex Crockett here, back with another video, and today I'm very excited to bring you guys my draft analysis for Season 2 of the APA Academy. If you guys don't know what the APA Academy is, most of you probably do, but I'm going to explain it anyways. It is the APA's version of a D-League, so it's the step right below APA Main. So this is really exciting for me. I wanted to be a part of this league when the apps came out and everything, but we didn't get accepted right away. However, shoutouts to my good friend Die Tight Jason. You guys probably all know who he is. He was super just helpful and very nice, and just he's been a good friend of mine for the past couple months, but he really wanted me to be in this league. So when the opportunity struck that someone had to drop from the league, he made sure that I was one of the first people to pick up a team so I could participate in it. And that's just super nice of him. I really appreciate it. If it wasn't for him, honestly, I wouldn't be sitting here making this video today, bringing you guys this draft analysis. So big shout outs to Die. So that does mean that we did not draft this team that I'm about to go over. However, I still am very excited, and the team that I picked up is mostly my playstyle, to be honest. We'll get into all the logistics in a second about the team, but I really like the team that I picked up. There are some other teams that also dropped that weren't all that great, but I'm glad I got this one. So yeah, let's just get right into it. I'm really excited. Yeah, let's just hop right into the first pick. So first pick, if I can find my mouse, is going to be Mega Lucario. Now again, I didn't draft this team, but this is one of the mons that ever since I've been doing draft league stuff, I've wanted to be in an Ubers league, and I've wanted to draft Mega Lucario. So yeah, this is an Ubers league this season for Academy, which is scary it's scary and super fun at the same time, because Ubers is a really fun format, but also there's a lot of strong mons like Mega Lucario. I believe the person I picked up this team for from was 6th overall pick, so that explains why we have Mega Lucario and stuff like that. This thing is insanely strong. It can be either a special attacker or physical attacker. Both sides. It gets both Nasty Plot and Sword Dance, so you can run however you want. It gets Flash Cannon, Bullet Punch, Meteor Mash, Close Combat, Ice Punch, all those moves. You probably already know what this thing can do. It also gets an insane speed boost that goes up to, I believe, 112 base speed, if I remember correctly. So this thing is just an absolute monster, and honestly, you'll see it with literally the next pick. This team is get hazards up and let Mega Lucario sweep the team. It's pretty insane. This thing is this whole team was built around Mega Lucario, obviously, but it's insane how well everything was thought out, especially since this was a 24-person draft. If you guys know me, the last 24-person draft I did, which was also an APA league, which was a showdown league, the last 24-person draft I drafted that mostly by myself, and it did not turn out well. They're really rough. You get sniped a ton. It's terrible. So I'm sort of glad I didn't have to go through that whole 24-person draft process again, just because I probably would have messed it up somewhere. But honestly, I would have been excited either way just to draft a team. But we picked this one up, and I kind of like it, and it's already starting off strong. Mega Lucario, again, like I said, is a mon that I've wanted to use for a long time. This thing is just insanely powerful. And yeah, so the rest of the team is just going to be built around it. It's kind of insane. And right away with the next pick, so there was 30 something picks in between. If I'm thinking that he's if I'm remembering correctly that he was 6th pick, there's probably 30 something picks in between the first and second one. So next we have Deoxys Speed, which kind of works well with Mega Lucario in the sense that it's a lead, a very reliable lead that can just set up hazards right from the word go and start pressuring the team immediately with either spikes or stealth rocks, or you can do both. I've ran it with both, as you've seen in the GUU, or you can set up things like screens, or it can if you want to throw an attack on there just so you don't get walled by things, it gets Ice Punch. I think it gets Ice Beam and Ice Punch and Fire Punch. It also gets obviously Side Shock and all that stuff. So this thing is pretty versatile. Normally you don't I wouldn't keep this thing around in a battle for too long, just because it's kind of more of a suicide lead. But at the same time, if your rocks get run away, you can easily preserve this thing because of its insane base 180 speed. As long as it's not paralyzed, this thing outspeeds everything on the field. It outspeeds, I believe, base 100 Scarfers too, if I remember correctly. Maybe even higher than that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, this thing Really fast mon, really good at just going in there right from the word go and setting up rocks and spikes and immediately pressuring the opponent into either rapid spinning or defogging those hazards away so they don't get chipped down, because once the mons start getting chipped down, Mega Lucario then just comes in and sweeps the rest of the team. So yeah, the Axis Speed is a really good mon to pair with a mon like Mega Lucario. May not seem like it at first, but when you think about it, yeah, it does, because Mega Lucario with a little bit of chip just 2-hit KOs or 1-hit KOs everything with a little bit of chip. So yeah, the Axis Speed, that's also a mon that I've used more recently in the other Ubers that I'm doing GUU, which yeah, I've loved it so far. It's a good mon, I really like it. Really excited to use the Axis Speed again because I'm comfortable with it. And then next we have Thunderous Eye. Now, this is a mon that I'm not really familiar with, but it's pretty straightforward. It's just a really good, solid special attacker. It gets things like Grass Knot and Focus Blast. It's also a Z user on this team as well, so you can do things like Titanium Z, all that stuff. Just really a mon, because that we didn't... How do I say this? It's a mon that you'll see later on we sort of need, because we don't have too many offensive mons on this team. You'll see later on the person that drafted this, you'll see really like to play stall from what I could tell. But yeah, so it's literally like Mega Lucario, Thunderous Eye, and then a bunch of like walls later on. In hindsight, yeah, this mon makes sense. It's still a really good mon, like insanely good. This thing is powerful, like really powerful. But yeah, so Thunderous Eye, I mean, not really like anything I'm too familiar with. It's pretty straightforward, just a really good special attacker and all that, good special wall breaker. And then next, here we go with the stall I just mentioned, Toxapex. Now, this is a mon that I used to use like all the time. I think I drafted it like at least 3 times in the TBL, maybe even 4. I'm really comfortable with this mon. This thing can set up spikes, or T-spikes that is. Baneful Bunker is a really weird but interesting move. It's basically just, it's another protect, but if you predict him to like knock off or something for whatever reason, you can get a free poison on him. Obviously Scald and all that, and then it also gets Haze so that this thing doesn't get set up on, which is really useful actually. A Haze on this thing is really good. This thing is just annoying to deal with. It is like one of the stalliest mons in the format, even in Ubers, and it's just a my nickname for it is always Toxic Pex, because the thing is just toxic. Like it's just, I hate playing against it, but I love using it because it just annoys the other opponent into like doing like really aggro plays, trying to like break this thing down, but then you can like just play off that and all that. It's just a really like annoying mon to play against, but I love using it. So yeah, Toxapex, a mon that I'm really comfortable using here. Alright, so next up in round 5 we have Comfy, which honestly is like a really it's a really interesting pick, especially in Ubers. Like it's a round 5 Comfy. This thing was like 6 points. I don't really know like what the thought process was completely for picking this mon so early, but I guess I can assume it's probably just for some low tier rally. This thing has a pretty decent special attack stat, also being base 100, and also a really decent def stat too. It can set up, you know, Calm Minds, or it can defog. It actually gets aromatherapy too, so it can be sort of a cleric as well. So yeah, round 5 Comfy was something that sort of threw me off guard at first, but looking at the rest of the team, it sort of makes sense. Maybe even setting up a Steel Fairy Dragon Core for later on. Who knows what the thought process was here early on. Could have gone for something a bit more like in the higher tiers, but I guess he figured that it was that whatever he wanted in the higher tiers would be around by the time the draft ended, so he just went for Comfy right away. Or maybe he just really liked Comfy, I don't know. I don't really know the thought process for some of these picks, but I'm gonna assume that it was just for some good early low tier value. Just really liking the play style of Comfy, I guess, and just liking the mon in general. So yeah, that's all I really have for Comfy. Next we have Porygon Z, which is another mon that I haven't used. This one isn't really necessarily a wall, like I mentioned earlier. Like I was saying earlier, how it's just basically like Mega Lucario, Thunderous, and then just a bunch of walls. This one isn't really a wall, but it's not really a breaker either or anything. It's just kind of there as a good special attacker as well. Gets moves like Tri Attack, Thunderbolt, and Ice Beam. Z conversion as well. You guys all know what that does. Porygon Z isn't a mon that I'm too familiar with, but I just recently played it like twice, so I sort of know what to do against it or with it. It also gets Recover, I'm pretty sure. I remember correctly. So yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, again, not really too sure about this mod. I think it was like 11 points. It's starting to get more into the lower tier mods, or mid to lower tier mods, I guess. And then next we have an even better defogger than Comfy in Gligar. So right now we have 2 defoggers and no spinners, which is kind of interesting. If it were me, I probably would have gone for a spinner like Donphan around this time of the draft. But Gligar also is a really good mon. The reason I say that I'd want a spinner on this team is because we don't really want to be defogging away our hazards too much. Especially if most of the time we're going to be going for like just setting up hazards and just hoping for the best Mega Lucario, which isn't a bad strat at all. Obviously we don't want to rely on it too much, so a defogger makes sense, but if most of the time we have things like Deoxys Speed on the team, we would also want a spinner sometime in the draft. But anyways, Gligar, really good mon. Mini Gliscor, I've used Gliscor a number of times before. We also need a mon with 4 times weakness on the team, which we didn't have yet, so we'll be running, we'll make the opponents run HP Ice. Maybe we'll want to grab another 4 times weakness mon later on in the draft, just so that they have to decide between running HP Ice or, you know, something like HP Ground, who knows. But yeah, Gligar, really good defogger. Mini Gliscor, like I said. Sing, yeah, you probably all know what it does. Pretty standard mon to draft. Really good boy. Really like Gliscor, and probably gonna like Gligar just the same. So next up we have Goodra, which is a big Spadef wall here, and also completes our Fairy Steel Dragon Core with the Mega Lucario, Comfy, and Goodra. Not much to say on Goodra. I know this thing just has an insane Spadef stat, and is also just a good mon in general. There was transactions I could make. I wasn't too sure, like, okay, so Goodra was a mon that I wasn't too sure on the team. You'll notice that my speed tiers are kind of all around like the 80s, the 80s to 90s. Nothing really like too far above. I think Mega Lucario, well, besides the Deoxys Speed, Mega Lucario is like the fastest thing on my team. So yeah, you'll notice that my speed tiers are kind of a little out of whack. There was a mon that I could pick up that was also Dragon type, that's still on free agency right now as I'm making this video, which I could still pick up besides Goodra, which would fit my team probably a bit better, but I'm still not too sure about it. Remember earlier how I was saying this guy probably likes to play stall? Yeah, this team's turned out to be a pretty stally team, especially with Goodra. It's still a good mon, like really good mon. There's nothing wrong with it at all on this team. But there is a transaction I can make. I think it's Haxorus that's still around. It might fit this team better, just as because we have Thundurus and Porygon Z as special attackers. Mega Lucario is more of a, which could be either both ways. Maybe I could throw Haxorus in there instead of Goodra. That would have been like my pick probably because they're around the same points, and I think they're around the same points. I think Haxorus is a little bit less or maybe a little bit more, but I have the points to spare. So yeah, if it were me, I probably would have gone for Haxorus. Also for the speed tier, being Goodra, I think is like 80, if I remember correctly, and Haxorus being 97, which does help my speed tiers out a little bit. So I might make that transaction later on. But yeah, anyways, Goodra, not really too much to say again. Just a good Spadef wall kind of mon. Not really much more to say about it. Next we have Cress, which is a mon that I've used I think twice, but I still like it. It's still a good mon. Like, I love this mon. It's really good. You can set up Trick Room with it, which you don't really need on this team because nothing is really like too slow, at least not yet on the team. So you probably won't be using Trick Room too much, but it does. You can run Calm Mind Crest with like Shadow Ball, Moon Blast, or Psyshock, and then it gets Moonlight for recovery, or you can throw like a Toxic on there just to stall the opponent. This thing is just a really thick mon on both sides, having a really good defense stat and a really good special defense stat. Nothing really too crazy to say about Crest. You all probably know what it does and probably how it works on this team, seeing as we have a Toxapex, a Gligar, a Goodra, and now a Crest. This team is looking pretty thick right now. Next up we have Crawdaunt here. Now you probably remember just me a few seconds ago, like maybe like a minute ago, mentioning how we didn't really have a good physical attack. Well, I mean, we have Mega Lucario, that's a great physical attacker, but like just something that solely focuses on physical attacking. Well, here it is. Crawdaunt is a pretty solid lower tier physical wall breaker, with having a pretty good attack stat and base 120 attack, and then being a bit on the slower side, which does help out my speed tiers a little bit. Maybe if I see the opportunity arise, it's probably not going to come every week, but Crawdaunt is there if like I see that, oh, Crawdaunt kind of sweeps this team. Maybe I could run like Trick Room Crest and just have this thing go off and set up a Swords Dance or something. I don't know. But yeah, this thing gets Aqua Jet and all that stuff. Just a really hard hitting mon, really good physical wall breaker for my team that was kind of like needed. I didn't like Mega Lucario again is like a really good like physical and special wall breaker in a way, but needs a bit more chip. This thing can kind of just like set up with the Swords Dance and break down most of his, the opponent's walls. And next for our 11th pick, we have Shuckle. Now Shuckle is a very interesting pick, in my opinion, because now we have a situation where I have two potential lead mons, or two like really good potential lead mons in Shuckle and Deoxys Speed. Shuckle, being way on the slower side with only 5 base speed, but having an insane defense and special defense stat and a really bad HP stat. This thing is infamous for like setting up webs, and then just kind of like, I wouldn't say dying, but just kind of like showing up for the rest of the game only to set up webs again. Or this thing can encore instead of taunt like Deoxys Speed can taunt. Shuckle can encore, which can also be really useful. It also gets knockoff and toxic, so this thing is like a really solid lead mon, but it throws me in an interesting position where I kind of gotta pick and choose, like, okay, do I want to bring Shuckle or do I want to bring Deoxys Speed? Because Shuckle can also set up rocks. Deoxys Speed I feel just does that a little bit better, but for setting up webs, Shuckle obviously does that because it actually gets webs besides Deoxys Speed. But yeah, like there may be a week where I bring both, and then I really have to play like mind games with my opponent, like am I going to lead Deoxys Speed, am I going to lead Shuckle, or am I going to lead neither and like make that big play. Yeah, this thing again, just a really good lead for any team. Webs also helps this team a little bit because like I mentioned earlier, my fastest mon is Mega Lucario besides Deoxys Speed. So having webs up could be a nice luxury to have during a battle, just so that I outspeed everything. Like rocks and webs being up on the opponent's side almost guarantees that Mega Lucario wins as long as I have their removal down. Same thing with Thundurus too. Thundurus can also sort of sweep with rocks and webs up as well, just because of, excuse me, how powerful that mon is. Excuse me. But yeah, so Shuckle, really good mon. Haven't used it, but I do know a lot about it because I played it like many times. And then finally, for our final pick, we have a grass type. Actually, finally, that was something that I noticed as well, that we only had we didn't have a grass type until like the last round. But Lurantis does fit what we need pretty perfectly, because really we didn't have a grass type yet, and we also only had defoggers as our removal. Now we have a spinner, which can be insanely helpful for our team. This mon probably won't come every week, but if I feel that I either don't need removal or I need a spinner rather than a defogger, I will bring Lurantis if I can fit it on the team. Otherwise, I probably won't be bringing removal too much on this team, just because of how well Shuckle and Deoxys Speed do at setting up hazards from like the beginning of the match. But if I do end up bringing removal, it will most likely be like Lurantis, because that's a spinner and we don't want rocks disappearing from the enemy side. But obviously I will also bring Gligar like a few times, but more so I'm leaning towards more Lurantis as my removal for this team, just because again it's a spinner and I really want to make sure that I have rocks up on the enemy side when using this team, just because like again with chip, Mega Lucario just sort of sweeps the entire enemy's team no matter what. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this draft analysis. Sorry if I seem like all over the place. I'm just really excited and really trying to like think through these picks and like think of the thought process of everything. But yeah, this team sort of, it makes sense to me. Like looking at this team, it definitely makes sense. Again, I might swap out Goodra for Haxorus later on if it's still around. If not, no big deal because Gudra does still fit this team perfectly fine. Axers might help my speed tiers a bit more, and also just fit my playstyle a bit more because I don't like to play too much stall. But if I do, like I will play stall with Toxapex, obviously, and all that. So yeah, really excited to be using this team here. I'm just really excited to do this season. Like, even if I don't do too well, it's still like a great opportunity for me to put myself out there more and meet more people in the community and hopefully make some good friends along the way. So that is gonna do it. We're gonna have our week 1 match going up next week. What's that? I can't remember what next, like when week 1's supposed to be uploaded, but yeah, next week Sunday. So a week from whenever this draft analysis goes up, I'm going to be uploading my week 1 match. And I already actually had that match just the other night, and I'm really excited to bring you guys that first match. It was a really good match, and I'm just really excited to show you guys. So if you guys are excited for this season, please make sure to subscribe and leave a like on the video, and I will see you guys next time. See ya.